Brace yourself for a chilling encounter with North Dakota's darkest history, where echoes of suffering still linger. The desolate ruins of the Haven Sanatorium in Dunseith stand as a grim monument to North Dakota's past, once a facility for tuberculosis patients. Thousands perished within its walls, leaving behind a legacy of torment. Today, this abandoned institution is considered one of the state's most intensely haunted locations. Visitors and paranormal investigators report disembodied screams, shadowy apparitions moving through the decaying wards, unexplained cold spots, and an overwhelming sense of dread, as if the spirits of those who died there are still trapped, perpetually reliving their final moments.
This first story came from a guy named Mitch. He works in land survey up in North Dakota, and after this job near Bismarck, he started turning down any site that didn't have a paper trail. I've worked as a land surveyor for 12 years, mostly in the upper Midwest. When someone sells a property or plans to build, I check the boundaries. Make sure the lines are accurate, no disputes. That's it. Boring job. Usually. Last September, I took a contract just south of Bismarck. A developer was looking at a few tracts for some wind turbine installations. Most of it was easy, flat, open, not much fencing to worry about. Until I hit Grid 12. That's what we called it on the project map. Just 1 square mile of land. No owner listed, no tax ID, no parcel marker. But there was a fence, brand new, barbed wire, running around the entire thing. I radioed the office to double-check the GIS data. The response came back clear. That grid section doesn't legally exist. It was labeled as unmapped agricultural holding, inactive, which made no sense. There were clear tire tracks running along the inside of the fence, not tractor treads. Truck tires. Someone had driven the perimeter recently. Grass bent, still damp. I thought maybe it was just an oversight. So I climbed through the fence at the northeast corner and walked in to plant a marker. About 200 feet in, I found something weird. A small concrete block buried flush with the dirt. Looked like a utility junction. No writing on it, no hatch, just 4 tiny holes in a perfect square, like ventilation. I took a GPS reading, no coordinates returned. Back at my truck, I tried loading the point on a satellite map. Blank screen. I refreshed the browser 3 times before it gave me a location. Missouri riverbed, underwater. That didn't make any sense. I was standing in dry, open prairie. I marked it for the developer and moved on. That night at the hotel, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. When I checked it later, it was 11 seconds of nothing. Except, at the very end, someone cleared their throat. The next morning, I went back out to Grid 12 with one of the project assistants. The fence was still there, but the concrete block was gone, like dug up. All that was left was a smooth, square patch of dirt. Then I noticed something else. Fresh tracks, wide ones, like dual tires. But instead of running around the fence, these tracks came from inside the field and stopped right at the outer fence line. No exit, no break in the wire, just dead-end tire tracks, as if the vehicle had vanished. We didn't talk on the drive back. I reported it in my file, but the developer removed Grid 12 from the project 2 days later, said they'd reallocated scope to a southern parcel. Thing is, I passed by that field again last month. The grass was newly cut, and the tire tracks were back. Whoever owns that land doesn't want anyone knowing they do, and they definitely don't want to be found. This one came from a guy named Elric, who works as a butcher in a small North Dakota grocery store. He says he doesn't go near the old meat locker anymore, not unless someone else is with him. Location: Minot, North Dakota. I've been a butcher for almost 20 years. Started in Fargo, moved west to Minot for a quieter pace. I work the early shift at a locally owned grocery store. The kind of place with creaky floors, sticky freezer doors, and regulars who've been coming for decades. We've got 2 meat lockers in the back, one we use. The other? It's been sealed for years. No one goes in there, no need. The cooling system died a long time ago and they never replaced it. It just sits behind a rusted steel door near the loading bay, and that's where the buzzing started. It was around 5 a.m. on a Monday. I was in early to prep the counter, slicing, wrapping, labeling. That's when I heard it, a faint static hum, like an old speaker left on without any sound. At first, I thought it was the radio or maybe the vacuum sealer, but as I walked closer to the old locker, it got louder, buzzing, a low electrical hiss, like someone had plugged in a cheap intercom and left the mic open. I put my ear to the steel door, just static. No voices, no music. I figured maybe a wire had gotten crossed with something in the electrical panel. I asked the store manager about it later. He just shook his head. That locker's not even powered. We cut it years ago. The next day, it happened again. Only this time, the buzzing ended with a click, like someone lifting their finger off a button. Then silence. I went to open the door, but the handle was stuck like someone was holding it shut from the other side. After a hard yank, it popped loose. I pulled it open. Dark inside. Empty. Just hanging rails and old stains on the concrete. The buzzing stopped the moment I opened the door. By Thursday, it got worse. Every morning, same routine. Buzzing starts around 5 a.m., lasts a few minutes, then stops. Except now. I started hearing my name. Low. At the very end of the static, like someone whispering from the other side of a speaker. Eric. I slammed the door shut and locked it from the outside. Told my manager something was wrong. He gave me a look. I heard it too, he said quietly. Last year, right before Gary quit. Gary was the butcher before me. He left without notice. Just vanished one morning and never came back. On Saturday, I brought in a Bluetooth speaker and played loud music while I worked. No buzzing. But when I turned the music off for a second, just to check, I heard it again, clear as day. You left the door open, Eric. I hadn't. I checked. The door was still locked. But something was rattling on the other side, like someone was moving around, like footsteps, and something dragging. I don't open that locker anymore. The manager offered to seal it permanently, but I told him not to bother. Some mornings, before the sun comes up, I still hear the buzz. Sometimes it's just static. Sometimes it says my name. And once, I swear, I heard breathing. This last one came from a guy named Damon. He was working a utility job outside Dickinson, North Dakota. And after what happened, he says he'll never check a rural meter alone again. Location: near Dickinson, North Dakota. I work as a field tech for a private electrical utility company. We handle the stuff the big providers don't. Off-grid properties, private installations, backup solar arrays. I mostly do meter reads and equipment checks, out in the boonies where nobody else wants to go. Back in January, I got assigned to Grid 12, a freezing stretch of farmland northwest of Dickinson. Nothing but rolling fields, fences, and dirt roads that don't even show up on GPS. There was just one site left that day. A farmhouse tagged for a manual read. No smart meter. No data updates since last summer. So I drove out there. That's when everything got weird. The house was old but intact. One story, long porch, weather-beaten siding. No cars in the drive. The mailbox was half buried in snow and still had Christmas flyers inside. No footprints. But the porch light was on. I sat in the truck for a minute, trying to get a signal. Nothing. Even the company's satellite tablet couldn't connect. I walked up to the meter on the side of the house. Looked normal. Numbers hadn't moved in weeks. I knocked anyway, just in case. No answer. Then I noticed the front door was cracked open maybe half an inch. I'm not a cop, so I don't go barging into places. But I've also seen what burst pipes can do in a winter like this. Figured maybe someone left in a hurry and forgot to shut the place. I leaned in and called out, "Hello?" Utility check. Nothing. I opened the door slowly. Inside was dark, quiet, but not empty. The lights were off, but the place didn't feel abandoned. There was a coffee cup on the table, a coat hanging on a hook, a folded newspaper from 2 days ago, not last summer, 2 days, and a space heater was humming softly in the living room. I backed out fast. But before I stepped off the porch, I noticed something else. A rocking chair in the corner. Still rocking. And the seat was warm, no wind, no animals. That chair had been in use just before I got there. I turned to leave, and that's when I saw the curtain move in the window to my left. Not all the way, just a slight tug, like fingers had brushed it back. I got in the truck and radioed dispatch, static. 10 minutes later, I checked the site's records again. The account had been closed. Not just overdue, closed, it was marked as disconnected due to non-residency, dated 6 months back. No active power order, no explanation for why the porch light was on, or the heater, or the coffee still steaming on the table. I drove straight back to town, filed my report, and marked the property as unreadable due to safety. But here's the part that really got me. Later that night, someone called my work phone from an unlisted number. All they said was, "The light stays on." Then they hung up.